So it's just to say that, like, your budget can be ranged from like very frugal to splurging on things. And it really depends on what you value and, understanding the costs associated with those values. This is Worldschooling Q&A. I'm Astrid, creator of The Wandering Daughter. As a traveling family, we've spent 4 years traveling full-time to over 18 countries and 6 continents. Wherever we go, we try to learn as much as we can about the countries and cultures we visit. While we didn't coin the term, we like to call this worldschooling, using the world as our classroom. Each week, my husband Clint and I will answer one question about worldschooling and share our experiences of traveling the world with our kids. Ready to get started? Great! Let's dive in. Okay, so today's question is, how do I budget for a worldschooling trip? Do you want to start?
So I think the first thing, we may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but really having like an idea of what your family values are.
Yeah.
And this is super important with budgets, because depending on what you value spending your time doing, that's really going to affect your budget. Yeah. So, for example, if you're the type of family who likes to eat out a lot, that's going to be different than a family who likes to stay in and cook a lot. If you are a family that wants to go do a lot of activities and really experience the culture around them, that's going to change your budget versus a family who likes to stay at home or go to just kind of be more simple, go to parks, that kind of thing. So your family values are really going to play a big part in how your budget is going to come out.
I would also say, like, your family's kind of related to your values is like the level of comfort, or even like your needs too. Because you and I, we work remotely, and we continue doing that when we travel. So, like, we're not going to be able to do camping, and traveling, or like off the grid type of travel for an extended period of time, because we're going to need to be in a place that at least has like reliable internet connection and Wi-Fi. But, again, that goes back to like, what is it, the things that you value, or that are important to you to maintain while you're traveling?
Yeah. Another example of something for us is that we love cities. We are a city family, I think, for the most part. And so that means we end up spending a lot of time in cities, which can be more expensive than staying in smaller towns or the countryside. But that's one of the family values for us.
I want to add, or I want to kind of take a step and talk a little bit about just like, kind of related to this is, I think there's a habit among families to sort of like, especially like worldschooling families, to like shame others for wanting to spend a lot of money on travel. Like, I think it's sometimes like a badge of honor to be able to say like, yeah, I'm a budget traveler. Like, we just live as frugal as we can, and we can travel around the world on like $20 a day. I don't think anybody can travel on $20 a day, but I'm just throwing that out there. And I think that's great. Like, that's great if you can do that. But, it's also okay for a family to want to splurge and, stay at hotels or do hotel stays whenever they travel, or do like eat at nice restaurants, places that they're not able to eat at in their home cities or home places.
Yeah, I think additionally to that is that, for example, we as a family, we like doing touristy things too.
Mm-hmm.
We like doing non-touristy things.
Yeah.
But we are equal opportunity experience people. We We like going to the touristy places also. And we know that that's a trade-off. We know if we go to, say, the Eiffel Tower area in France, we know things are going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
We understand that. And I think that while I can completely appreciate really hardcore, low budget travelers, and this isn't just with the world's going world, it's with travel forever, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
definitely the digital nomad world and family travel, there's always been this badge of honor of oh, we can do it for cheap. And a lot of that comes from like we're leaving expensive areas. So like westernized countries like the United States, right? We're
Yeah.
leaving those expensive countries to go travel long term and save money.
Yeah.
And while that's true, um, I think there the reverse happens is that there's a stigma against people, against families who enjoy doing those more touristy things. And we're not just saying this anecdotally, or we're saying this with no experience. We've been shamed on groups and things for because we like to go out to eat or because we like to visit touristy
Yeah.
regions and stuff that
Yeah.
we've been called out of like, oh, you're not really travelers, you're tourists and things like that. And
Yeah.
I just I don't know, that gets me. I don't think there's any room for that in the world's going world. I think
Yeah.
it's such a positive environment in general, and there's
Yeah.
so many other things that we as world scores should be thinking about as far as responsible and ethical travel within the countries that we're being at. We there's no room for to spend energy that
Yeah.
way.
And that's not what we're going to cover in this
Yeah,
episode either.
sorry. We just a little tangent
Yeah.
we wanted to get off our chest here.
So it's just to say that, like, your budget can be range from like very frugal to splurging on things. And it really depends on what you value and, understanding the costs associated with those values.
And I think to add one more thing, you've been really great about this since day one of travel. Is you've been really transparent about what we spend.
Yeah.
If anyone asks us, or in Facebook groups or Facebook posts and stuff
Yeah.
like that, Astrid's done a really great job about being transparent about what our daily budget is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always the case. A lot of times you'll hear people, oh, we don't spend like we travel on this and this and this per day, but then they never give details about how they travel. And that's their right. They don't have to share their financial details, that's for sure. But we're very transparent, and we know other families are very transparent about what they spend, and why we spend that and where it comes from. And so if that's a value to you as well is the transparency of a family sharing, then seek out those families that are willing to share those details with you.
Yeah, there's a couple articles on my website about like how to budget for an overseas trip or how to do like affordable world travel. So definitely check those out because I do
Mhm.
give actual numbers of how much things cost for us. So let's go into just the line items. Like what, if you're going to be budgeting for a trip, like what are the costs that you need to be aware of or that you need to like plan for?
Yeah, it's actually pretty similar to what day to day life is,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
The big ones are lodging, food, insurance,
Transportation.
transportation,
Yeah.
and then some additional ones that come up with travel specifically is like air travel or
Yeah.
any sort of like transporting from one region to another, whether
Yeah.
that's train or air or something
And
like
and
that.
activities too.
Yeah, and activities.
Activities. Something that I always put in is like a miscellaneous line item. Because like I don't know, when we were traveling full time, we ended up buying like household supplies. You don't think about that
Yes.
if you're just visiting, but like, you know, shampoo or laundry stuff or vitamins or things like that, that eventually will run out. It makes no sense to like have to lug all of those things
Yeah.
around with you. Just buy it in the location that you're at. When our kid was like 4 and we were traveling, we would buy step stools, like plastic step stools in the different places, because the Airbnbs are not really equipped for kids. And he could never, poor kid, would never be able to reach like the
Yeah.
sink. And instead of just like moving a chair, we were just like, let's just get a step stool. You can find it at the market. And then that's easy for him to like reach for things. So things like that.
Yeah. And another miscellaneous thing that we never really thought about until we started traveling is that when you're staying at a month or longer somewhere, a lot of times the kitchen's really bare bones.
Yeah.
Usually there's just enough to get you by. Um, and usually there's not very many groceries, especially something that would last over a month or whatever. So we've bought things like pans, a knife. Like we start traveling with a kitchen knife, or at
Put
least
it
a
in
sharp.
your checked
Yeah,
bag.
no, don't bring that in carry on. Knife sharpener.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how many dull knives we've come across. That's really frustrating. So it's very like spatulas we've bought. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just a number of things we've bought over time. Because if you're in a place for a month and a half, really like trying to deal with inferior or non-existent stuff. And when I say inferior, I'm not being like pretentious. It's like sometimes it's like something that's literally broken or not working, and
Yeah.
they still as part of the kitchen utensils or whatever. So
Yes, that's a
yeah,
whole topic
yeah,
altogether. Like if we ran our own
uh,
Airbnb, this is what we would offer.
yeah. Now the home exchanges and house sitting, that's different because those are people living there full
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
those have been great. It's really just the Airbnbs I think that tend
Yeah.
to be. But yeah, beyond that, I think medical costs. I think you need to keep in
Yes.
consideration medical costs.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you're in the United States, for example, and you have medical insurance here, a lot of times that means nothing or very little once you travel outside the US.
Yeah.
And if it does, it's usually is a you have to pay for it up front and then file a claim if you want to. In honesty, like once you get outside the US, it's actually never been a big deal. Even in the UK, even in more westernized countries, we've always paid out of pocket for medical care,
Right. Right.
and it's never been an issue. Maybe that's another topic for another episode. But yeah.
But yeah, you did mention insurance, and I think it is important to have, even though medical costs are much cheaper, it's still important to have in case that there is a big emergency that requires, evacuation or surgery or something that you can't really pay out of pocket. Um, there's a company that I like called Safety Wing, and they have insurance specifically, medical insurance specifically for digital nomads. And so, and it's affordable for
Mhm.
families too. So that's one that I like to use, and we've used it in our past travels.
Yeah, one other thing that I guess I want to mention is kind of a line item, or it has to do with lodging in general. Actually, it kind of touches all these things, but it's also a family value of ours. Is the idea of slow travel versus fast travel?
Right.
That can be huge change or variant in your budget in
Yeah.
general. And what we mean by that is I think we've mentioned this several times in other episodes, but I don't think we've ever actually defined it. But like slow travel is going for a month or longer in
Yeah.
a location, and versus fast travel where you're doing 2 weeks or less
Hmm.
in a location. And there's a number of benefits. In addition to slow travel, I say deep travel too.
Yeah. Yep.
Deep travel is really staying within a region and trying to explore as much of that region as possible over a slow period of time. And the reason why is transportation costs are less.
Right.
Your lodging is less because usually you can home base for a longer thing. So say, like we were in southern Spain, for example, we did a 3-month lease on an apartment, and that saved us money over shorter terms.
Yeah.
And then we just home based out of that and did road trips for it. So you can get better
Yeah.
deals on rental cars. There's a lot of considerations when you go slow travel and deep travel
Hmm.
as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think the last thing I'd say or touch on is just um, if you need, like if you're kind of like a tactile type of person and need like a worksheet or something like that, I actually have a travel budget worksheet available on my website. Any of the budget, like if you go to the article about how to budget for an overseas family trip, you'll be able to find a link to access that worksheet. And also, I cover like budgeting for a longer term travel in my ebook, Hey Kids, Let's Go Travel. So you can grab that ebook and look at the resources there.
Cool. Anything else you think?
Nope, I think that's it.
Sounds good.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Worldschooling Q&A with Astrid and Clint. Be sure to check out the show notes for any links we mentioned in the episode, and visit my website, thewanderingdaughter.com, to dive deeper into worldschooling and family travel.
If you like what you hear, please consider supporting The Wandering Daughter on Patreon. It really helps us out and keeps the show going. You'll also get exclusive perks like episode transcripts, additional resources, access to office hours with us, and more. You can find us on Spotify or the podcast app of your choice. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can tap the bell icon to get notified when new episodes come out. And if you like this episode, please give us a 5-star review. It really helps new people find our show.
If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap the bell icon to get notified of new episodes. You can follow me on Instagram @WanderDaughter or follow The Wandering Daughter on Facebook. Links to these are also in the show notes. If you have any worldschooling questions you'd like us to answer for future episodes, feel free to throw them in the comments or send us a message at thewanderingdaughter.com/podcast. Until next time, happy travels!
Bye!